participation to this last event of the Tokyo team for the CCIFJ of the year. So thank you very much. And it's a great, great honor for us to welcome Yoko Makiguchi-san to this event to talk about Revolut. And I'm very curious. I was just saying, I'm very, very curious to learn more and see how I think it can be very interesting for a lot of us. So thank you very much. And I let you speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, the Revolut team here and our friends who come here today. Also stay online. I'm Yoko. So today is a quick introduction. Before we start talking about Revolut, let me give a quick introduction about myself. I'm Yoko Christina Makiguchi. I'm over 50-year-old now, a working mom. And I joined Revolut in January 2020. I've been the CEO of Revolut Japan for 2 years right now. And my career in the past prior to Revolut was investment banking, global investment banking, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Credit Suisse, Lehman Brothers, etc. So where I was involved in equities, futures, FX, various kind of asset classes. It was fun until one day after Lehman shock, I think the financial market changed forever. Banks were proved to be too big to fail. And as a financial worker, things become really boring. A lot of focus are purely on risk, de-risk, rather than creativity or making money in the sense. So it was really boring at the time. Also, kind of feel that the whole world has moved on. People are using cell phones. When I started my career in finance, we didn't even have PCs. That was 30 years ago. And when I started in finance, Nikkei just fell off from 38,000. That was the bubble period. Everyone's happy every day. Whatever we do, everyone makes money. And suddenly, after Lehman shock, nothing makes money. Things are pretty depressed. And at the end of my career as a 50-year-old woman in Japan, there's very limited career upside. I think not even 50-year-old, 40-year-old or above, very limited career upside. So I was wondering about what I want to do next when I was approached by an agent and was discussing about the Revolut opportunity. I did some research about Revolut. Actually, we heard about Revolut. I heard about Revolut from friends and my son as well. Younger generations who travel actually knew about Revolut. It's a young firm. I did some research and I was really fascinated about the idea. Because as a financial worker on the sales side, I've always been taught by my boss and my colleagues and myself is trying to charge clients more commissions as much as possible. And a lot of time when we talk about corporate strategy, it's about how can the firm make money. While at Revolut, the concept is always about what customers want. What is the current financial industry trend? What can we bring to the customers? And how can we learn from this? But using technology to automate and make things better. So that's why I joined. And so far, I really enjoy the ride. So let me start sharing the story about Revolut. So today's presentation will be in 3 parts, and we'll go really quickly. If there's any question, we can ask at the end. So before we start, I think I'll begin by showing you a brief 1-minute video of Revolut.
Revolut your way into all things money. Download Revolut now.
So I didn't create that, but it's kind of our latest campaign, actually one of our first TV campaign Revolut, so far in Japan, at least, we don't have any marketing resources. We don't really do any proper TV campaigns or marketing. All of our growth so far has been through word of mouth. So users use it, like it, tell their friends, they tell their families, and people start growing. And in 2015, Revolut was founded as a way to rebuild the financial industry, as what I mentioned earlier, from the ground up using technology. Large banks trying to apply technology has been challenging. And meanwhile, our goal is to help our normal users, mom and pops, and brothers and sisters to save people's money. Our current status in Revolut is, as you can see, I'm not going to recite it, but I think that the big things to note is that we currently only have 5,000 employees. And our retail customers now reaching 25 million. We just made an announcement last month. And we also had business clients, corporate accounts over 500,000, 500,000. That's right. I think it's close to 1 million right now. And in Japan, we were registered in 2017. Actually, one of our friends here actually visited our office earlier when we just set up. But our actual retail launch is actually in October 2020. So we're merely 2-year-old in Japan. Our employees has just reached 40. We haven't done any campaigns. I'll explain why. And our retail customer has reached 80,000. It's all through organic growth. User download the app by themselves and came to us. Initially, when Nick and Vlad, when they founded the company, Nick actually visited Japan 2 weeks ago for the second time. The first time he's red at out. He didn't see Japan, mainly for fundraising. But this time when he came in, he really was impressed with Japan as a different world. And he mentioned that initially when he started talking to investors in 2015, when he set up the firm, he mentioned his dream is to have no fee for transactions, at least for international fund transfer, for example. Everyone think that's a crazy idea. But today, we're actually offering a free international fund transfer in Japan. So it's no longer a dream, and we're doing that globally. And when Nick and Vlad, the co-founder, when they tried to create Revolut, as they mentioned here, I won't recite it, they try to build a financial platform for old people. I think that's a very main concept you saw in the video. We're not showing the people with suits. Financial wealth is not just you go to a banker and try to make a lot of money. And our target clients are not the super rich. Everybody's entitled to have a bank account, we think, regardless with ethnic origins or their incomes. But it's not the case currently. So we're exploring ways to allow everyone, everything is accessible. And we offer very user-friendly applications. And we don't have any hidden fees. Everything is in the T&Cs and disclaimers made it very clear for our users. And we also offer very high level of securities, which is something I think a lot of the financial institutions have been struggling with because of technology, lack of technology. One example is actually the other day I went to Karuizawa. I tried to use my Revolut card, it got denied because we have remote location detection technology. You can turn it on and turn it off. So if you're a Revolut user, before you go back to France or go travel abroad, please make sure to turn it off. Otherwise, your transaction would be denied. I don't think any other bank can offer that at this point in Japan. And our customers and their experience with our products are our top priority, nothing else. People's needs change so fast that we can never capture. So understanding our customers' needs is crucial for us to achieve success. And here is a quick snapshot of our app. It's really cute. In 2025, when Revolut was launched in the UK, we only offer money transfer and exchange. And at that time, everybody called Revolut a travel card because when you travel through Europe, you need to exchange money on euro, pound, or krona, or whatever. And millennials in Europe, they try to save money as much as possible. And it's very clear that if you go to a bank or Travelex or whatever the usual FX dealers, you're going to see a very large spread bid offer. One example is when I go to Narita Airport last month before I went to UK, I went to one of the bank on the boutique, and I could see I want to buy a pound because I'm going to UK for business. I can buy a pound with 160 yen. But if I want to sell my pound, I can only sell it at 130 yen. So the bank is taking 30 yen spread. Well, when I went to Heathrow Airport in London, using my Revolut card, I could withdraw from ATM at Heathrow Airport. The interchange, basically the interbank rate, 145 yen. So it is the fact that they make a lot of money on spread. And I think Nick and Black, when they started the company, that's one of their strength effects. They also recognize that there's a lot of margin out there. Our is not to take extra margins. We're going to minimize the margin, utilize the financial space. And so that's our strength. That's some trouble part. Gradually, we've grown a lot since then. And so Nick made this presentation actually 2 weeks ago in Hong Kong. So I'm going to share with you. We're currently operating our services officially in 36 countries. Our top 5 markets are UK, 1.8 million users, Romania, surprisingly, 2 million users, Ireland, 1.9 million users, Poland, 1.7 million users, and France is our 5th largest market, 1.5 million users. Our goal in Japan is hopefully we can reach the state where France is today in the future. We're opening up new offices in coming months in India, New Zealand, Brazil, and Mexico. Actually, I just got to know from our Mexican CEO that we just got a money transfer license. So, hooray. And we have turned profit as a firm since 2021. So you see our financial report very soon. It took time, but it's worth waiting for. And this year we have achieved 85 times growth since 2018. That's amazing. And here is a very interesting chart that I want to show you. We're growing in scale and speed. I think that's the biggest difference I can see from traditional financial services first Revolut fintech like ourselves. We can utilize technology in the central location, well customized and deliver quickly based on what a local territory needs and what a local customer's needs. Outside of Japan, that's true. In Japan, it takes a bit more time. I'll explain why later. We now have a global portfolio from accounts and payments and insurance, lifestyle, travel, investment, US stock trading, for example. We also have obtained a Revolut bank license in December 2021. So we're officially applying for banking license in Australia, UK. We would like to roll out all these fantastic products that our global users enjoy in Japan. And also to support Japanese government's initiatives to increase cashless ratio. Japan is still more or less a cash market. And in fact, Japan is one of the worst in G7 countries, or OECD countries, I would say, because the cashless ratio still stay at 30%, compared to, I think, US and most of the European countries are above 60%. Sorry, last week I've been screaming a lot because of World Cup, so I'm losing a bit of voice here. Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm forgetting that. Next is actually just for your reference, what fintech does, slightly different from, similar to traditional financial service. A different way is we actually work closely with global regulator. Unlike the common assumptions that all laws were not. We actually work closely with the regulator to promote innovation and new ideas to help improve the overall larger we are in. So for example, on payments, we're actively supporting the Financial Stability Board, which Bank of Japan is also in. And we are giving users control of their financial data, transparency, and competition. So in terms of open finance, we're mostly in UK, EU and Australia with regulators. We actually just joined a 2-day policy summit with FCA in the UK earlier this month. We also have views on how digital ID can improve the whole transaction cycles and controls rather than adding more human checks, etc. There are things that digital transformation contribute to efficiency and security. In fact, this time when Nick was in town, I actually visited Bank of Japan, who is currently considering strategies around CBDC, digital assets, as well, and we're going to be closely involved, provide our feedbacks and ideas as well. And one example is that we're working partly with the UK government to provide analysis in terms of consumer spending trends without giving out our user data, just overall trend analysis, and to help the government decide their strategies in terms of tackling in the past COVID and now inflation. So those are the kind of things big data contributor like himself can do. And that's something that we're very proud of. Next is an interesting topic about Revolut in France. As I mentioned, France is one of our largest market, and the fifth largest, but actually very close to the fourth as well. Our e-money branch was live in 2022, February, so it's pretty new. Our EMI branch was converted into a banking branch license in July 2022. Now France has more than 1.5 million users and still increasing very rapidly, as you can see. Over the 1.5 million users, over 200,000 has become our bank users. The rest are still remaining as our e-money users. Over 750 million euro in France franchise. Over 550 million euro with the bank. And next, we can talk about Revolut in Japan. First of all, we have a small team, we only have 40 people, but we actually have 4 Frenchmen and women. Starting with Tina here. She's our head of operations strategies, which is the core heart and brain of our franchise. And then Vincent, who's already went back to France for holidays. He called it working because we currently have a working from foreign country policy up to 2 months. So myself, I scheduled 1 month's work from Taiwan next year, but Vincent is working for his hometown in France. He's our head of IT. And we recently have started hiring engineers in Japan to make sure we can customize faster to Japanese demands. So Julian is actually one of our recent hires, just joined recently. And he's moving to Fukuoka because we gave them a choice to work from home. So for costs and benefits or whatever reasons people tend to choose, we are hiring a staff in Okinawa. We have a staff in Hokkaido, one in Osaka, and we already have one in Fukuoka, will be the second. So wherever they want to work, that's totally fine with us. I think that's a flexibility we're providing that most of financial services cannot do. We also have Quang Tan. I want to make sure I don't misspell his name. He's always angry with that. Quang T, because a lot of people call him Quang T. He doesn't really like that name. So he's a data scientist and also our internal auditor. So we have a really smart and very strong French team in Revolut to help us contribute to the success of the franchise. They don't have time to get it. In terms of what we have in Japan, we really have almost nothing. We have the really basic skeleton. 2 years since we roll out, we're still in a really basic stage. We only roll out the foundation, the FX and remittance, and also commodities. As soon as we roll out commodities in December 2020, we received calls on the regulator asking for explanations. And there's no issues, explanations were fine. But I think that's something that we have learned, a very valuable lesson, is that as a foreign firm in Japan, we should have talked to regulators first, rather than only trusting external legal opinion. And we're doing that. So it's a very important lesson we have learned. And we have decided to start launching new product in the second half of 2021 to review everything we have before launch to make sure we're totally compliant with the regulator. We've been explaining to regulators regarding our documents and services, etc. Because Revolut is so unique. It's very different from the other companies in Japan. Regulators originally thought we're a competitor of PayPay. But in fact, we're not really a payment company. If you look at what we have currently, it looked like a payment company. But if you look at what Revolut is outside of Japan, as I mentioned earlier, we're really not. We're more like, I would say, more like a financial services convenience store or a financial services Amazon. So I think it's very different to compare us apple against oranges, but this is the framework we're currently in. And next is compared to the other Asian markets. So we launched more or less at the same time for Australia and Singapore. And you can see I actually did a very large category. But still you can see that Australia has almost rolled out everything Europe has, all the global clients has. And Singapore also is on the way, almost roll out everything. Japan, we're stuck at the very basic, and we probably be stuck there for quite a long time. And main reason is because there's very different language, culture background. So we need a lot of translation, and we need to be very careful how we translate it, the accuracy of that. And with the dynamic, as you see earlier in the slides, it was a dynamic pace that we have been rolling our business. It's very hard to capture changes real time. That's still our challenges. In terms of what we want to do next, as you can see, we try to roll out a lot of things. We got called and decided to stop. We now are in phase of reviewing everything we're doing with regulators. And we believe early next year, we will be able to clear the air. Actually, Nick is invited by FSA to be a speaker at the 2023 FinSum, the Financial Regulatory Forum. So it's actually a very positive step showing that we're sincere and committed to Japan. And we believe we have things to contribute to our Japanese clients and even to our authorities. And we know are getting the guidance. The FSA is very generous and give us a lot of their advice and guidance. So hopefully with their leadership, under their leadership, we can start rolling out what we plan to do step by step in the right format. And so in terms of what we really want to do next is one of the big things is we want to go back to where Europe is. When Europe started the business as Revolut, we were called travel card. And in Japan, we want to focus on travel as well because the border just opened. We see a lot of opportunity, immediate opportunity for our Japanese users, especially businessmen or travelers, to enjoy our services. I myself actually went to UK, as I mentioned, to business trip in UK 2 months ago, and then spent 1 week in Italy with my husband for a family trip. And for those 2 weeks, I only used Revolut card. So I could use Revolut card at the train station, it's tap and go, buses, restaurants, or Visa touchless. I didn't use any cash. So it was a surprising experience coming from Japan, where most places is more cash oriented. So we believe that we can contribute to our Japanese users when they travel abroad. They can enjoy the same kind of benefits I enjoy. Also, we're going to basically launch new products such as the bank debit product and other new services along the way. Some of the services I can't really talk in detail because they will require licensing, and only once we have received the approval from the FSA and relevant authorities will be able to disclose further. In terms of where we want to go, what's our plan? As of November, we have 80,000 customers in Japan. We plan to acquire, as Nick said to Bloomberg 2 weeks ago, that we aim to acquire about 1 million users in Japan. That's our target by 2025. So we have, in reality, 2 more years to go. That looks very ambitious. Looking at where we are, we're only 80K, but imagining that we have never spent a penny on marketing. That's actually, and looking at the trajectory in Europe, I believe that's very achievable. And second thing we want to do is we're going to launch Revolut for Business, as Nick also said in his Bloomberg interview. Revolut for Retail has been live for 2 years. Revolut for Business is similar to Revolut for Retail, but offer business capacities. For example, you can issue corporate card for your employees. Using the Revolut for Business, you can do fund transfer, FX, etc. In under your company's name, so it's easier for tax processing, etc.
In Japan, we believe that's a huge potential because if you just look at the number of corporates in Japan, 99.7% of the Japanese corporates are small and medium-sized enterprises, and they have been underserved in Japan. And we believe that's a great opportunity where not only for business, but we can contribute and help them be more successful. And third is something we haven't really announced to anyone, but after being in Japan, operating for 2 years, we keenly understand that we really need local partnership in a lot of ways, better market know-how, distribution, regulatory government relationship, etc. So we have been discussing with domestic partners, including domestic banks. So watch the space. That's all from me today. Merci. Any questions?
Please stay in the mic so that people online can hear you. But please, please be free.
Side. Although I think from Nick and Nick's point of view, and from I also agree, is that I think Revolut is different from other kind of services, even if we just market it's really not a marketing services that we want. We want people to really experience knowing that it's good and is willing to contribute and refer other users. And that's our current goal. Your questions. Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, well, if there is no more question, thank you very much. I think we're going to continue the discussion anyway with a glass of wine and a little something to eat, so it's going to be easier maybe. So thank you very much for the one online, and thank you to everybody, and thank you so much for this very interesting presentation. Thank you.